Hello everyone, I'm Francisco Cuadros from Metanogenia, and today we are going to see Lesson 7, Suitable Conditions for Waste-to-Energy Installation. In this video, you will be able to see the main characteristics of ideal waste, some logistic issues that must face the people to collect this waste, and the main social issues that can be found by using some kind of residues. In the first part of the presentation, we are going to cite and explain the main fundamental characteristics that a waste must have to be used as a raw material to obtain biogas. First of them is humidity. As we have already mentioned in occasion in this course, the degree of humidity of a residue is very important so we can have proper anaerobic digestion. Very dry waste cannot be degraded efficiently or quickly by anaerobic bacteria and therefore obtain a good amount of biogas. As a limit, it's established that a waste must have at least 50% of water composition. This percentage is still low, but at least anaerobic fermentation takes place. The ideal condition for good biogas production is the residue to be made up of 90% of water. This reduces treatment times and maximizes gas generation. Low humidity levels can mean increased cost. This is because the digester must be larger as the treatment time increases, and the sludge transfer components are more expensive. Also, as already mentioned, the gas production is significantly lower. Another important parameter to take into account is the pH. For the process to develop satisfactory, the pH of the waste must not drop below 6 or rise above 8. This can lead to acidification of the digester and subsequent inhibition. Another factor to take into account is that the residue must have a high concentration of nutrients. Elements such as carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, or iron are essential for proper biogas production. These elements help bacterial metabolism and therefore help us to have a healthy digester. Inhibitors are the big enemies to avoid. These compounds generate instability within the microbial system. That is why waste with a large amount of heavy metal must be avoided. In the same way, it's not recommended to introduce waste containing detergents or disinfectants into the digester. It's evident that these components eliminate a large amount of bacteria that we need for fermentation. It's common to think that residues can be introduced with a small amount of detergent. Even when this detergent is very diluted, it still involves a threat and can cause stability issues. Another aspect to take into account is the particle size. We must try to introduce into our installation waste that is not very compact. By reducing the particle size, we are favoring the action and degradation of anaerobic bacteria. It's normally necessary to shred or treat some way the waste before processing. The smaller the particle size, the higher biogas production is obtained. As already mentioned in this curve, the anaerobic fermentation processes is a balance which can be altered by different factors. This is the case of varying too much the mixture of the residues at the entrance of the reactor in a short period of time. It's necessary to avoid these changes to be very abrupt. For instance, if an anaerobic digester is treating vegetable and fruit waste, it cannot be switched to another feed, such as fish waste, overnight. This change must be sequential and little by little, with the aim of acclimatizing the bacterial community and maintaining good gas production. To finish with the ideal condition of a waste for these facilities, we focus on the benefits of waste mixing or co-digestion. This means the anaerobic digestion of two or more residues of different origin at the same time. The main advantages is the use of the synergy of the mixture, compensating the deficiencies of waste that waste have separately. In the same way, the mixture of waste allows to cushion the temporary variation in composition and production of each waste separately. Some of the examples that have the best energy yield are a mixture of livestock waste and meat processing, dairy waste with livestock waste, or fish waste with vegetable waste. We jump into the second part of the lesson. We will briefly see the main aspect to take into account of waste from the logistic point of view. In the first place, the long-term stability of a residue guarantees that it has barely degraded until it's entered the digester. There is waste, such as those derived from fruit processing, which take a little longer to degrade than the animal waste. In this way, so many odors are not generated and the organic matter enters the digester almost undegraded. Another point to take into account is the proximity of the waste. It doesn't make much sense to have to travel many kilometers to obtain a certain amount of waste. It's not efficient from an environmental or energy point of view. It's important to install these plants in places where organic matter is nearby and can be collected easily. The collection of waste is a very important aspect for these projects. The best way to ensure waste input to the digester and maintaining high gas production is to get the community involved. The contribution of people who live and work nearby should be encouraged to ensure long-term biogas production. Without the support and work of the community, these bioenergy projects tend to disappear. Finally, we will discuss the social aspect to be taken into account. Accessibility. Waste must be located in easily accessible areas. This will allow a simpler and more stable biogas plant feed. Waste that is complex to collect is usually discarded over time. The better the accessibility is, the more people and organizations can contribute to raise the volume of waste to be treated, and the higher gas production could be obtained. Hazard condition. The collection of waste must not suppose a danger to the people who carry out this task. Residues are potential sources of infection that must be avoided. If the use of hazardous waste is necessary, it's essential to collect them and transport with a mask and a protective gloves to avoid cuts, wounds, and infections. It's very important to avoid ingesting this waste. Final destination of waste. It's very important to avoid using residues that can be used in animal or human food. There are residues with a good biogas potential, but due to their condition, they cannot be used as a food after processing. That's all. Thanks for your attention and see you in future lessons.